So one of the things we always like to do is bring you guys cool and exciting new things. And honestly, I was just told, Steve, please go to this booth. They have the coolest new tool, so I don't even know what it does yet, but enough people told me that I have to come and check it out. So I'm here. So Michael, tell us about what you got going on over here.
Thanks
that I had to come
Steven.
and see this.
Appreciate it.
All right, go ahead and tell us.
We're with GripEdge Tools here at our booth in AIMExpo in 2026, and we are here to show off our professional grade tool line. We have a line of bit sockets that have a very unique design and a feature set that will keep a fastener from stripping out. You can see on my 3D model here, we have a standard hex in comparison to our version of a hex. And it's the same with the Star or Torx profile. We have a unique profile change, and it's these design changes that we have are patented intellectual property that we refer to as RPT, rounding prevention technology, meaning when you use our profiles as your primary tool the first time, every time, regardless of the condition of the fastener, it will keep the fastener from stripping out or give you an opportunity of removing a damaged one. When a hex fastener strips out, as you guys all well know, the forces migrate outwards to the corners. And when that happens, that cap screw starts stretching, microscopically of course, and then causes stripping to occur. When you take a look at our version of a hex, we have these relief cuts manufactured in there, and that is our technology, RPT, rounding prevention technology. And what we're doing, instead of allowing the forces to migrate outwards to the corners and allowing that cap screw to stretch and eventually strip, we're refocusing and redirecting those forces inwards to these relief cuts. And by doing that, by keeping everything pulled inward, we don't allow that cap screw to stretch under load. So I've got a demo block. So in my demo block, I've got a good 6mm cap screw and one that we purposely machine rounded out to simulate that stripped out one. I'm going to start with a standard 6mm. It's been around for well over 100 years. And you can see it fits into that regular 6mm cap screw just like it's supposed to. But once we were to get a lot of rust and grime and age of service and heat cycles, we could very well strip that out like we were explaining earlier. And if that happens, you can see that standard profile has no engagement on a stripped out fastener. I'm going to put the standard 6mm one away, and I'm going to go with the rounding prevention technology 6mm. They're both 6mm. It's not an oversized tool or anything like that, and I can prove that because it fits in that 6mm cap screw just like it's supposed to. And again, now that I'm using rounding prevention technology, that design will give me up to 50% more grip on a good fastener to keep it from stripping in the first place. And you can see it works just like the standard 6mm. With no difference. In addition to this having rounding prevention technology, the design element also provides some nice extraction capabilities. So in the case where I had a stripped out fastener and I had no luck of getting that out with the standard 6mm, I'm going to take the rounding prevention technology 6mm. I'm going to come in here and you guys will see that I will break it loose and I'm going to tighten it back down. And just so you can see that it was no joke, I'm really going to get it nice and tight. I'm going to snap that loose one more time so you can hear it. You can see how much force I was putting in there. All I was doing was spinning with this design, and I not only loosened it and I tightened it. Now to show you how rounding prevention technology works in real time, the way I explained it where everything gets refocused and repositioned into those relief cuts, notice that it locked in. It did not lock in on the good fastener because it didn't have to. There's enough meat and material in the good fastener, but it's giving us that 50% more grip to keep that good one from stripping out. But on a damaged fastener, they will lock in. So as a tech, sometimes you may not notice the damage with your naked eye, but if a tool locks in even slightly, you may want to replace that fastener. But if I'm trail side and I'm out riding and I got to do a repair and I don't have a replacement fastener, I could at least reuse it if it's not too far gone. To remove that, all I'm going to do is release or reverse that ratchet and I'm going to unlock it. And you guys probably couldn't see that, but it barely moved, it unlocked, and it comes right on out. Now, I'd like to talk about Torx or Star. A Star fastener, they strip out a little bit differently than a hex. This is our standard Torx, right? It fits in there with a lot of slop, but once stripping were to occur, you'll see that we have no engagement whatsoever. Now we're going to go to the rounding prevention technology Torx. And just like before, when I take my RPT and I go into the good fastener, it's going to be 50% more grip based on that design to keep the fastener from stripping in the first place. And you can see it works just like the regular T47 with no problems. In addition to rounding prevention, this has nice extraction capability, so where I had no opportunity of getting out the stripped out one, I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to break that loose. And more importantly, I can turn around and tighten it back down. So again, if I'm trail side and I got to do a repair and I've got a damaged fastener, rounding prevention technology could at least allow you, if you made that decision on your own, to reuse the fastener, you could. Now again, I'm going to reverse that ratchet and I'm going to unlock, and it falls right on out. And we've got several profiles. We have not only Hex and Torx, but we've got Torx Plus and the tamper-proof profiles and triple square and several others. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about GripEdge's extraction tools. Several of you have seen or have had situations where you have a nut or a bolt head that could get pretty well messed up or rusted. If you live in the Rust Belt area like where I live, you often see heads of fasteners that get like this, or somebody may strip them out before you, and you have a lot of issues. So there's been a thing called socket extractors, been out for a good 30, 40 years, and this is one of the most common designs out there. Historically, they've been called either turbo or twist sockets. It doesn't matter what they were called, but they've been useful, but there's some inefficiencies that we've overcome. One of the things that we've overcome is that this particular tool has an internal taper to it. So if I'm trying to use this internal tapered tool on a fastener such as that, I've only got a little bit of engagement somewhere up here in this cavity, not the entire cavity of the socket. I might even shave more material off, making it harder to remove, because I got to get this down as far as possible to get the best possible bite. It's also fluid in one direction, which means I can really only get good bite in one direction. I can't work something back and forth. With GripEdge's socket extractors, we have a straight cut tooth with a non-taper design. These are all impact rated. They're dual drive, square drive and external hex. You can pound them on, and now I've got full engagement in that cavity, which I did not have with this. Which also means I can work this in two different directions, which I cannot do with an incumbent design tool. What I'm going to do now is show you live on a grade 8 fastener. This grade 8 fastener has had all the flats removed on it. It's fully round. That's the most extreme example. Because it's no longer a 9/16 hexes, which is where it started out with, I'm now going to utilize my 14mm socket extractor. By having the combination of both metric and SAE socket extractors will allow you to go on to a damaged fastener and give you the best possible bite, because we don't know what's going to give you the best bite, an SAE size or a metric size. You just got to match it up on your own. In this case, I'm going to use the 14mm. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pound it straight onto the fastener, that fully rounded head. And now, again, unlike a typical incumbent tool, I've got full engagement in that cavity, which means I can work it back and forth in two different directions. I can loosen it and I can tighten it. And most importantly, you can see I'm putting a lot of force on that, and it is not slipping on that fully rounded off bolt head. Now, when it comes to extraction, it's all about grip and control and being able to successfully control the fastener, work it back and forth, etc. But sometimes, especially where I live in the Rust Belt, we may need to get the torch out or some heating device to heat around the area. Whether I'm using a heating device or a torch, I still need to remove this tool, because if I put an open flame to this, I'm going to be affecting the heat treat of anybody's professional grade tool, which I don't want to do. We have patented with our socket extractors, this rod is called Foreign Object Removal System, G-Force, Foreign Object Removal System. I'm simply going to thread that in. Every single one of our extractors has internal threads underneath the square drive and above the application or the part where you pound it in. I'm going to thread it in, and I'm simply going to lift that socket right up off of that fastener. I don't have to worry about damaging my tool or the fastener that I'm trying to remove. I've got that nice and removed, nice and safe. I can now heat around the surrounding area. I'm going to remove my foreign object removal rod. And we're going to come on for round 2 here. And we're going to continue our extraction. And again, I can work this in back and forth in 2 directions, but most importantly, this is the second time I've been on this fully rounded nut bolt head, and you can see I'm putting just as much force as I did before without any slipping going on at all. And again, we can work these things in 2 directions, which we can't do with the incumbent tool. And by having enough grip and control over our fasteners that we're trying to remove, gives us a much better success rate than the incumbent designs. And now we're going to simply use that foreign object removal rod one more time. And some basic hand tools to expel that fully rounded off fastener out of that socket. And I'm going to drop it right here on the toolbox. And you can take a look right there. You can see where I pounded it on there twice and yanked on it, but we had it bit in and gripped just as good. And that's a fully rounded fastener. There's no flats on there. We made the most extreme situation you can. By the way, if you size up appropriately with your socket extractors, they will work very well as a stud extractor. You just pound it onto the studs and it will work really well with a stud extractor. Moving on from extraction, we also have broken bolt extractors. This is our kit right here. It comes with 7 left-handed drill bits and 7 extractors. When we typically have an extraction tool, most technicians have used what's called easy outs. They're not always the most effective, but they work in some scenarios. But we've got a tapered tool, number one. A tapered tool is most certainly not going to give us a whole lot of engagement in our cavity, is it? And because it's fluted in one direction, I can't really effectively work this thing back and forth. And we feel that we've overcome that with our broken bolt extractors, and here's a large 3D mock-up. It's a straight cut tooth with a non-tapered design. And more importantly, these are angled off to the left to really help engage in that removal process. And so that means I can work this in 2 different directions. So what I have here is a drilled out cap screw that we put in. Going to simulate a broken bolt. We've drilled it out with our left-handed drill bits. A left-handed drill bit might loosen the fastener up some more, or even bite in enough to remove it completely, but if it didn't, now we're ready for extraction. And that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to utilize the number 5 extractor out of our kit, and I'm going to pound it in here. And now I've got full engagement in that cavity where I wouldn't have full engagement with a tapered tool. Just like our socket extractors, we have what's called the foreign object removal sleeve. Just like our extractors had the foreign object removal rod. This sleeve will do 3 things for us when I have it pounded into the broken bolt. If I bring it down to the work surface like this, I like to just ever so slightly snug it up. That allows me to have it more anchored in and gives me extra stability when I'm trying to remove this. And most importantly, unlike a typical easy out, I can most certainly work this in 2 different directions. I can tighten it, I can loosen it, I can work it back and forth, but most importantly, I'm going to go in the tighten direction just so you guys can see that there is no slip going on whatsoever. I've had big guys come in and actually break these off in my test block because they grip so well. But you can see I'm flexing the entire toolbox, right? Now, just like we talked about with the foreign object removal system on our socket extractor, if I needed to remove my broken bolt extractor to, say, apply some heat around there, I can do that by simply going back to that sleeve and simply walking that extractor straight on out of that cavity. I can now apply my heat. I'm going to reset my sleeve. You can see I've been using the heck out of this for the last several days, day in and day out. And I'm going to come in for round 2 now. Bring that sleeve back down for that extra stability. And again, I can keep working this in 2 different directions, right? I can loosen it, I can tighten it, and you guys can see back in that tighten direction, it is not slipping whatsoever. And so again, having enough grip and control over what you're trying to remove, we feel we've overcome that and given you the best opportunity out there to remove these damaged fasteners. I'm going to utilize that foreign object removal sleeve to expel that broken socket right out of there, or the broken bolt. And you can see I pounded it in there twice. but it cut grooves in there and those grooves never slipped. So in conclusion, when you use GripEdge rounding prevention technology as your primary tool, the first time every time will prevent good fastener from stripping out and give you a fighting chance of getting damaged ones out with just a hand tool. And if you need to go to extraction, we have our broken bolt extractors and our socket extractors for fully rounded off nut heads and bolt heads, or broken bolts that you have to drill out and remove internally. External extractor, internal extractor.
Where can people find you, and where can they find out more information about this product?
GripEdgeTools.com. We also sell through professional grade tool distribution. A lot of mobile tool trucks carry our product. You can buy off our website. We have a lot of distribution models out there that sell to other jobbers, warehouse distributors that sell to other local jobbers. And you can buy off of our website if you wanted to. Free shipping $100 or more.